To our call to order for our regularly scheduled meeting on January 11th, 2021, our first meeting of 2021. We can do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. See my belly. We're good to go. All right. Before we get started again, I know that most of you were on the meeting on Saturday, but town employee Ed Kasasik, 30 years for the town, passed away last week. So we're going to do a little moment of silence for Ed. Okay. Public speak. Amanda, if you can go around the members of the public who would like to add to our meeting, please do it.
All right, we'll start with Mike Palazzi. Let's see. Mike, we just have to get you to unmute yourself. There you are.
I'm going to log off for this. Kathy's with on here. Want to go with that?
Mike, would you like to try to call from your phone?
I'm on the phone.
Yeah, Kathy.
Mike, turn your router off and on. So we worked well with the computer. Now go and turn your router off and turn it back on. And when your internet comes back, you'll have better connection. Okay.
I'm not.
Kathy, can you hear us from your phone okay?
I certainly can.
Okay, would you like to participate in public speak?
Do I want to? Yes, I'd like to talk about Saturday. I'd like to say what an excellent job the Register of Voters did in organizing everything, the town clerk for sending everything out, for Eric Anderson, he was fantastic, a very good guide telling us where to go. I thought everything went smoothly, and I would love to see more meetings held that way until we're all safe through this COVID thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Grenier?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis O'Brien?
I'll save my my energy for the rest of the meeting. But I was very pleased to hear today that the initiative passed. And I talked to Mike Palazzi today and to Eric about it, and they're very, very pleased that it went well. And that's great. That's all.
Great, thank you.
And I didn't recognize McGuire when I first saw him today. I thought he had a new hairdo.
He does.
All right, Shannon Loudon. All set?
I'm unmuting. So I too want to echo excellent job on Saturday. Very pleased about the results. I also want to commend the search committee for finding a finance director. I'm really, well, Kathy, you need to mute, sweetheart, because you're not muted. In any event, looking forward to more details about that. I think that's terrific, and I really thank everybody who was on the search committee for that. I think we found a wonderful person who's going to do a terrific job for the town and Board of Ed, and invite everybody to attend our Board of Ed meeting on Wednesday. It's the first time we'll be considering our budget and also honoring Laura Edwards, who retired as of officially last Thursday on her 60th birthday. She's done a fantastic job for us for 5 years. And so I would love to see as many people there who can be there to both hear about our budget and to say goodbye to Laura in good stead. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon. Elaine Bacard.
Need to unmute yourself.
There, I was having a hard time finding the button to unmute myself. Anyway, I just echo that Saturday was great. You guys did a wonderful job. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Okay, Joanne Hubbard.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, it looks like we're all set.
Okay. Additions and deletions to the agenda.
Jeff, if we could, I'd like to move item 9C up to 4C, just so Jay Tuttle doesn't have to sit on the whole meeting.
I second that.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make that motion that we move 9C up to 4C. Scott second, all in favor? Aye. Any other additions and deletions? Adrian Mandeville, glad you could join us.
Oh, I'm sure you're just thrilled.
All right. So Adrian, do you have anything you want to add to the meeting?
No, I think most of the, I had some questions, but they'll fall under other topics, so we're good.
Okay. All right, so we're going to just move that one item up to 4C. So we're going to go get started with board commission presentations. 4A, the Board of Selectmen, Board of Education Combined Finance Department Committee. Eric, do you want to give that one?
Sure, I'll give that one. Real quick, regarding the, so we have a tentative agreement with the new finance director, the person we're hiring for a finance director, with an expected start date of February 8th. However, as we started to finalize that, we did realize one thing, and that is the town and the school, by state law, need a formal agreement in place before we can have a combined department and combined personnel. So I left you a motion. The school's labor attorney has drafted a document that will do just that. I reviewed it. I don't have any issues with it. I asked Dennis to review it. He didn't have any issues with it. And so basically what I'd like to do is have you guys make a motion, to authorize me to sign that agreement prior to us hiring Agata. If I sign it today or tomorrow, then the Board of Ed can sign it at their Wednesday meeting. And then, we have a final agreement in place with Agata, if that makes sense to all of you.
Did you send that agreement out to us?
I think so. Did I not?
I saw it.
I think it's in the packet.
It's stuff for tonight's meeting, the email he sent at 4:09 on the 11th. Which
I
would
did
be,
not send it super early, I would admit that.
what he's trying to say is he sent it at 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's the third attachment. It says cooperative agreement.
Okay. All right, does someone want to make that motion?
I'll do it. I move to authorize the town administrator to sign a cooperative agreement with the Andover Elementary School as authorized by Connecticut General Statute, Chapter 171, Section 10-241B, to share the services of a finance director.
Someone want to second that? I'll second it. Further discussion?
I'd like to get a chance to read it. I mean, it was sent at 4 o'clock this afternoon without a notice that it was being sent for tonight, so.
Why was the term for 2 years? Just as a question, since I'm reading it now. Anybody? Eric?
Because the contract for Agata will be for 2 years. So it matches the contract.
I don't really care if it matches the contract. It's not really, we might have another person that comes in and we should not have that have to be renewed every time we hire a new person. So anyway, Dennis O'Brien, I'll ask you a question. Did you have any problems with the agreement? Did I lose Dennis?
I think he's muted.
You're muted, Dennis.
When I first looked at it, I had some questions, and Eric answered my questions. We have one like that here. We've had a lot of experience with a shared situation, and didn't work out too well. So we went to something like what you're doing, where the finance director will be actually working for both of you, but paid by the education department. And apparently the assistant director will be paid by the town. Now, I think that will require you to have another contract with the Board of Ed for the assistant position. Because there is something that covers that in here. It does say that it's under section 9, Roman numeral 9. Additional costs and expenses, the parties may agree in writing to split certain expenses for supplies, equipment, and other resources used by both the town and the board. I would assume that you can do a similar contract when you finally get around to, or maybe you already have hired an assistant director of finance, and that's exactly what we do in Wyndham. Except that the director is under the control mostly of the town, and the assistant is under the control of the Board of Ed. Because when they had one director under the control of both of them, the director was serving two masters, and it didn't work out very well. But anyway, this contract looks okay to me. I probably wouldn't write it exactly this way if I were writing it, but I think I would just ask to review it and give it my approval. And as it's written, I approve it. I didn't know, you mentioned, Mr. First Selectman, that it's a 2-year contract.
It is.
And it's a 2-year contract for the position, not for the person to fill the position. That will be a separate agreement, I assume, with the Board of Ed. And it can be terminated, though, upon written notice of 60 days. Looks like you can, looks like it's one of those 2-year contract that you can get out of with 60 days notice, which makes, could, answer your question, Jeff, to some extent. You're not locked in for 2 years, and I don't think you have to have cause to get out of it under, I just read through it quickly. So there's flexibility there.
I guess I don't look at it that way. I look at it as like, this is a benefit. We're trying to move forward with the town, and we're writing an agreement with ourselves, giving one board the ability to get out of a contract in 60 days. That's kind of asinine. So,
well, if anybody's going to want to get out of it, well, I don't know. It could be either party.
Okay.
I do have some concern reading this, that it says that the school board is going to be the one that gives the review of the person with input from the town, but it doesn't say that it's a pass-through. It basically also says that they're an employee of the board directly, which
what board?
Board of Education.
Right. And Marina is a direct employee of the town, right? It's 1 and 1.
So was any consideration given to how this, does it affect Murph or any of that stuff? Like, is it the same no matter where they work?
So in that case, yes, Murph will be the same, whether they work for the town or they work for the school. Laura was on Murph, and so will her replacement, Agata, or Agata.
Okay.
Well, if I may, like I said, we experienced that the hard way. We started out with a joint agreement between the Board of Ed and the town of Wyndham. Of course, we're a town of 25,000 people, a lot more complicated, a lot more politics going on there, I think, than you have here. You may not think so, but I know Wyndham very well. And now I know a little bit about Andover after being here for quite a while. But what they had was a situation where both the superintendent of schools and the town manager, either one could initiate disciplinary action or actually fire the person. And
Yeah.
they were fighting constantly about it. And maybe Adrian knows about it because you work in town a lot and you hear a lot of things. But it didn't work, and we just changed the charter again to set up a system that's very similar to what you have, where the Board of Ed has control over one employee, that would be the assistant, and the town of Wyndham has control over the director.
I guess I'm not seeing anything in here that covers grievances or discipline or even a work schedule. So what is the agreement for work schedule?
So that's in her contract. This is not her contract. This is simply an agreement between the town that satisfies the state requirement that there be a cooperative agreement. In other words, we cannot legally sign a contract with Agata unless we have an agreement in place.
So
that
where's
authorizes it.
where's her contract?
I don't have a copy of her contract
Then how can we vote on this?
because you're not voting on a contract.
You're just setting up a structure here.
I know, but we set up the structure, then the school board signs the contract, but we never get to see what it actually says?
No, because I'm sorry to interrupt, but she's going to be an employee of the Board of Education. So Adrian, what you are being asked to do is to allow Eric the authorization to sign an agreement as the town's representative to allow us to hire Agata.
Well, we're
We
not going
haven't
to
even
sign,
gotten to her contract.
Shannon, we're not going to vote on this tonight. I'm not voting yes until I see the contract for Agata.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not, I mean, and this is not, this
Well,
should not be
respectfully,
run.
Jeff, we didn't see the contract for Marina. So she's also supposed to be working on behalf of the school, correct, or not at all? Right?
Do I have a contract? Did I see a contract for Marina? Anybody else on this
Yes.
board see a contract for Marina?
No, I didn't see.
Shannon, what do you want?
You're muted, Shannon. Unmute yourself.
I know, and I don't mean to interrupt your meeting. I don't want to be disrespectful to the rules. I'm just saying, I just learned about this like a day or so ago. I haven't seen a copy of the agreement of what you're considering. I'm texting Valerie right now to ask where that is, that I believe it was drafted by the board's attorney. But what you're being asked to do is to authorize Eric to enter it, from my understanding. Again, I'm not looking at it like you are. My understanding is that much like we're going to ask the Board of Education on Wednesday, simply to authorize me to sign an agreement so that we actually can even enter into a contract with a joint finance director, you're being asked to authorize Eric to be able to sign an agreement that authorizes the town to hire a joint finance director.
Listen,
Right?
totally-
That's what the agreement says,
No,
supposedly.
Shannon, I don't have any problem with the agreement in the way it's written. I have a problem with signing it until I know the implications of that contract. Because signing this means that contract can then get signed. You
Yes,
know?
but what you are doing is you're authorizing the town administrator, who is her boss, her supervisor, to enter into a contract. Do you sign off on all contracts for all town employees? I don't think the Board of Selectmen has that authority. It is the authority of the town administrator and the authority of the superintendent to enter into contracts with their employees. Correct?
What would the board like to move forward? Start with that.
That's not accurate.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Board of Selectmen is the executive authority. The town administrator is their agent. So the Board of Selectmen does have the final say on on contracts like this, no question. Or a contract for an employment contract as well. It's different.
Does this board have a problem getting together later this week or by email to give Eric authorization once we have a chance to read it and have our questions answered?
Oh, I would like to see their contract also.
Okay. All right. So Eric, since we have this, we'll read it after the meeting and then we'll get you our questions and let's sit there and see if we can get this answered quickly. And then it would help us if you have some type of contract for Agata that we could at least understand it. Okay, let's move on. So you say you have a tentative agreement with the finance director, but that means we don't have a contract that we've written up. Or are you trying to tell this board that the Board of Education is writing up the contract for this employee? What are you telling us, Eric?
So I'm telling you that I have not personally seen a copy of the contract. I know the contract, I know what the rough outlines of the contract are. But I don't know, I have not personally had a chance to review that contract. Ultimately, that will be a contract between the Board of Education and the finance director.
My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but is not Marina the new person? Isn't she a union employee? So there really wasn't a contract per se. She was hired into a position. Is that correct?
Well, other than her contract was there's a memorandum of understanding that was signed with the union regarding employing Marina. Because obviously she makes, her hours are very different. Her salary is quite different and she works for multiple entities. So her job description is quite different. So yes, she is part of the same bargaining unit. Yes, some provisions of the union contract apply to her, but there's a memorandum of understanding that states the details.
Did I miss something, or was there a select person that was on, like in helping with that, or because I never saw any of that. I never saw a memorandum of understanding or a
You want a
contract.
copy of the memorandum of understanding?
That would be a first good start there.
Okay.
But we also need that contract because regardless of what technicality you think that who is hiring who and who is paying for them, we need to see the documents so that we can all be on the same page. Please get us those documents.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah. A copy of the Marina's contract, the memorandum, a copy of this new contract that's in discussion.
Valerie is going to forward those to me right now. She just responded to my text. I'd be happy to forward those to the board as soon as I receive
Please
them,
send
if
them
you'd
to
like me
Eric.
to do that.
Thank you, Shannon. And
Okay.
Shannon, listen, I don't know how anyone else feels, but if you have something pertinent to say during a Board of Selectmen meeting, I have no issue with someone interrupting to bring us up to speed. If someone else on this call doesn't have the information and you have it, I'm perfectly fine with someone speaking up. So
Instead of waiting, it's best to have that
yeah,
information.
let's just,
Okay, are we done
Town
with
attorney
4A?
too, of course. Right?
what's that?
You're talking about me too, right?
No, you have to be quiet. Mute him, will you?
I can do that.
All right, does anyone have
It's not
anything
easy.
else on 4A that they want to deal with or talk about? No? Okay, let's go to 4B, Conservation Commission. We were all provided a report on hunting on town property.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jeff, but there was the town accounting software update that was also supposed to be part of the agenda. And I was interested in hearing about that.
No update at this point.
Where are we at with it?
About the same spot we were at the last month. We haven't really made any progress on it.
Okay. Are we waiting for the new person to come in? Is that the impetus?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And so the vendor's been notified that we're holding out and what we're waiting on? Are we
Yep.
gonna sign a new schedule with them once they start, or?
I think once we have the new finance director on board, we're gonna have to sit down and figure out what a reasonable schedule for making that happen is. Yes.
Yeah, because now we're in the middle of budgeting.
Yep. No question.
Okay.
So you know when your start date of your software is?
No, he doesn't, because we don't know until they're gonna sit down and make a plan. He just said
Not
that.
running
July,
yet.
July 1st, 2021. Let's go. Okay. Conservation Commission, to report on hunting on town property. Mike Plazzi, do you want to talk about this or? Well, we all read, did everyone have a chance to read the
Yes.
report?
Yeah, we are at it.
Okay.
Kathy and Mike, if you press *6 to unmute yourself from the phone, we'll be able to hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Okay, so Mike, do you want to represent the Conservation Commission on this report on hunting on town property?
Yeah, I think it was pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah, we
agree.
just, well, a couple of our members researched the things that, the state has, how we come under their control and stuff. And the bottom line is, we didn't see anything wrong with what you guys did. We're just weighing in, that's all.
Okay. So does anybody else on the board want to talk about this issue?
I'm all set.
Well, what's the? So are we? Is this issue getting dropped now because the Conservation Commission?
Now, it sounded like Mike just said that he was all set with what we did, so he doesn't. I think the report didn't exactly say what he just said, but the Conservation Commission said they didn't recommend hunting.
Exactly. That's why I'm asking.
But now Mike is saying that he didn't see anything wrong with what we did. But
Well, it was just very vague on what the, we researched what the hunting requirements are for the state of Connecticut. And this is what you see there. And nothing was exceeded as far as hunters per square mile or that kind of stuff, as far as we could see. So we're just weighing in. You guys are going to move forward with it, but we had a chance to weigh in and we did.
Well, I mean, that's the question. It didn't seem to encourage or discourage, but I think the take at the very end was that it wasn't needed.
right.
That's right.
So I'm misreading that so the commission doesn't have a negative or a positive on it?
It doesn't have a negative for sure.
Okay, all right.
That makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, I mean, reading it, Mike, I would have not taken that point.
Right.
I agree
exactly.
100%. I thought it was against
Yeah, so did I.
So did I.
the way it's worded.
I mean, do you want to read the one sentence conclusion?
Yeah, right.
Maybe you could change that report a little bit.
Well, you're
Oh,
talking about the last
forget
line.
what conservation said. What does the board want to do with this issue? Do you want to vote on it and do you not want to vote on it? What is your desire?
I just think we should put it in the record, that's all. That they made a report on the,
But we never voted on this issue as a board.
not yet, no.
No, I think we were kind of letting, trying to get some more feedback from different areas and look around and see what was kind of out there.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting that we're talking about it because there are 4 other towns also talking about it around us, so.
Right.
He's right here.
Yeah, maybe we could clear up that last line. I see what you're saying, but I believe that says we didn't see a need act on anything in that.
Well, that would sound better at the end of the report than what's there, Mike.
Yeah, well, it says, in conclusion, Conservation Commission does not see a conservation management need for opening, for opening a town parcel.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Yeah, well, let me see if we can come back to that. And I'll be in touch with you, Eric, in the next day or so.
All right.
Okay.
Let me give you my interpretation, if you don't mind. I think all it says is you don't need to do it to thin out the herd. But, there's all kinds of other reasons why you would. I mean, it doesn't say you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. But that's not a reason. to
Accidents
do it.
on town roads. Okay.
Just one thing to add. I mean, I've talked to Scott about this a few times and a few other people, and we've talked about this hunting, and we don't know if the people that want to hunt on town land are even bow hunters or rifle or shotgun hunters. So we need to get that clarified as well, the people that wanted to hunt on town property.
I mean, I'll be candid with you. I'm not, at this time, I'm not supportive of rifle hunters. I think.
I'm not either. I mean, I was only supportive of bow hunting only, and I don't see anybody really coming out of the woodwork saying, I really want to hunt on town land. So unless we have a huge contingent of residents that wish to bow hunt on town land, I don't really see any reason to move forward with this.
Okay.
Okay. Let's move on to item 5, appointments.
Hang on, before you did that, we moved up 8C.
Oh, I am so sorry.
Mr. Tuttle.
Jay Tuttle, Public Works Introduction. Jay Tuttle.
So first of all, not all of you have met Jay Tuttle. Jay Tuttle is the new Public Works Supervisor. So I asked him to come on this meeting and just introduce himself tonight and answer any questions that all y'all might have. Jay?
Good evening. Can everybody hear me all right?
We can, thank you.
Good. Well, thank you for inviting me, and started on the 21st officially, and things are moving along, making a little bit of progress here, cleaning things up, and just kind of getting my feet wet and getting acclimated to the town.
Any problems with Eric yet?
Nothing that I can think of. We'll point my finger to anyway. At the
Eric,
moment.
did we get a contract for Jay?
Oh, boy. Too soon?
Too soon?
Well, Jay, thank you very much for attending our meeting. And anytime that you need to talk to us, you can attend our meetings. We try to make them quick. Mr. Mandeville is very good about that. And anything we can do with, you can do with Eric, you let us know if you need anything.
Yeah, let us know, Jay.
No, seriously, Jay, you asked the guy to get on the call. Well, do you have any questions for us? How is it going? You settling in well?
Yeah, no, just getting up to speed here with the computer and just waiting for that to come online. We'll get that this week sometime. So this one's a little bit old. We made a couple things work today, so I can get online here with you guys.
Are we getting him a different computer, Eric, or what's the situation?
Yep. It's due here this week, and like I said, we're just cleaning things up around here, and guys are welcome me on board.
Okay.
And it seemed like we got a good group here, and they're willing to, move forward, get stuff done.
Did Eric get you the jackets? Has that been ordered yet?
We're working on that.
Okay.
I'm waiting for some samples to come in.
All right.
Believe it or not, those are hard to come by too, along with everything else.
Sure.
Glad to hear you're cleaning things up.
You should go down there. The Public Works building looks like 10 times better than it did.
I was down there a few years ago, and it was kind of a shocking sight. And I'm glad it's getting cleaned up and organized.
Yeah, they are. He's
very good.
The guys are really seem to be, moving in the right direction. They seem to be happy to be.
Everybody works better in an organized building when they can find things when they need it.
Yeah.
Jay, thanks for coming on board.
No, thanks for inviting me, and I'm looking forward to working with the town, and hopefully I can help move things along.
Great.
Welcome aboard.
There is no shortage of work out there, according to our list of projects that we need.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, and that goes without saying. It's like that everywhere. Just pick your poison and try to put out some fires and make some progression.
Jay, when it just ahead of steam before you get into the budget season here, the thing that we're going to be looking for as a board from you is, direction as to, basically we like to have a plan for the year, but we also want to know a broad strokes plan so that we can understand that if something's not getting addressed this year, when it's been getting addressed. So,
Yep. Understood.
So Eric's been pretty good about that, but his experience level and yours and when it comes to paving is a little different. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions for Jay?
Thank you, Jay.
Jay, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks,
good
Jay.
night.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move on to 5 appointments. Jim Rupert, building official.
We'll deal with that in a little bit under old business or new business. New business.
Okay. There are no resignations, Eric, or are there?
Not that I know of.
Well,
Okay.
that's a first.
7, town administrators report.
Okay, you've all seen the report. I'm just gonna go over the things that have changed. Obviously, you all know about Ed Kasich, or Kasich. It's really sucks that he died 5 weeks after he retired. But that's life, I guess. COVID stuff, our first responders have gotten the first COVID shot, and a lot of them have gotten the second COVID shot at this point. So we're moving along pretty well with that. The governor announced today that they'll begin vaccinating seniors 75 and over as of next week. And we should have more details within the next couple of days, as well as more scheduling. And I notified Roberta and Kathy are putting together a list of those we know of that are over 75 to make sure we notify them to get on the list and get a date for the vaccine.
Now, how are we cross-referencing? Are we doing voter rolls? What are we doing?
I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
Eric,
So
excuse me, Eric, I'm using the voter roll list and the list that we're using, but also the current senior list that we have, our active list as well.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
okay, and as of today, the town of Andover has had 108 positive COVID tests and 2 deaths from COVID. Hang on a second. I put in your packet a memorandum. The fire chief had asked me to approve of a training session that the fire department wanted to conduct. This is being led by the Connecticut State Fire Academy, but it's occurring in our building. Their concern is that they're running low on certified instructors, and they need to get enough certified instructors to host enough training that their department itself stays certified to do their job. So I approved that. We went over and talked about what controls were in place to do it safely. I felt it was a reasonable risk, so I approved it. Town Hall, as you know, we're still open by appointment only, but we're pretty much fully staffed at this point. The town hall is running reasonably well. The Last week, we held the vote for the land acquisition that passed 62-2. So far, everybody that did the drive-by voting was fairly positive about it. I think that probably ought to serve as our model for how we conduct the original budget vote to go to referendum if we're still dealing with COVID when it comes time for the budget meeting, townwide budget meeting. So I spoke to Wally and the registrars afterward about how that would happen. And there's still some things to work out, but it seems like that's probably the most logical way, rather than try to do everything online with Zoom, do the meeting portion on Zoom and then have a drive-up vote. So that's what we're thinking of as we get into the spring and get farther into budget season. As I said before, we have a tentative agreement with the person that's going to be taking over as the finance director. Likely start dates around February 8th. Obviously, we need a final contract and we need an agreement in place before the town and the school. Building department, there's two things for today. The first is approval of what I gave you last week, which was an updated fee structure. My recommendation is to put that in effect as of March 1st to give the builders in town a chance, because some of them will have baked in our fee structure into their proposals, and I don't want to screw the builders. So it gives them basically at least 45 days between before the fees go into effect. And the second thing is a recommendation to switch from the building official being a town employee to a shared service through Bolton, because that seems to be lower cost and probably better overall service than the options we had for hiring somebody directly as a town employee. So that's building department. We talked about public works, and we did settle on using a company called WeatherWorks to provide us more detailed weather information specifically regarding public works. So far that seems to be working pretty well. As far as the transfer station goes, we had a couple complaints in the last few weeks about other residents at the transfer station not wearing masks. Not something I've done anything about. I suspect we have a high enough fraction of people that are in the never willing to wear mask camp that we'd cause ourselves more problems than we'd solve by trying to force universal mask wearing at the transfer station. That's my take on it. If you guys have a different take on it, I'm happy to entertain it. Just so you know that we're anticipating a road closure of Bunker Hill Road for 2 days during the day, sometime in mid to the end of February. And that's so they can do the test bores for the bridge, for the bridge abutments, so they know how far they need to plan on the bridge abutments going for the replacement of Bunker Hill Road Bridge. I've notified the adjoining towns, Public Works has been notified, the fire department, and the school and school bus drivers. So it will be a little bit of an inconvenience for a couple of days, but it's a good test run so people understand what they're going to be going through when we close it for an entire summer. So that should be coming up again around mid-February. No real updates on that. Revaluation. So we've had to this point, as far as I know, 2 complaints regarding the reval service. Again, given the number that we've done, overall, it's been very positive. But there have been a couple, vocal people that were upset with the process.
We've had what, 2 complaints out of 600 or 700 that have been completed so far? Is that correct?
Yeah, something in that range. Yep.
I mean, I know there was some back and forth. Was anything done to address? I mean, we got the email as far as the one resident. Was anything else required with the second resident?
No, that one, frankly, the company screwed up because that individual had asked them to notify them ahead of time when they were going to be there, and Vision did not. So that one was very definitely the fault of Vision. Vision screwed that one up. There's no question. You know, the person wasn't mad in the end. They were just not happy that, you know, they had asked to be notified and they weren't. So,
Okay.
So that's that.
What's our expected completion on those?
Think we're still around 4 weeks out for
For initials, right? And then we've got callbacks for anybody that didn't.
Yeah, and then they'll, I mean, the actual finish date is not till next October.
Yeah, I know
by the
that.
time everything's done.
Okay.
Yep. Let's see, complaints this month. Talked about the reval one. We did get one complaint about difficulty driving up Boston Hill Road due to ice, which I explained wasn't really anything we could do about since that was the state. We've had a couple complaints about people still leaving their political signs up. I've explained that there's nothing really that we can do about that. We have had a complaint about somebody living in a trailer illegally on Shoddy Mill Road. That's basically we've already issued the cease and desist. So the next step up for that is basically to lawyer up and, you know, go after them in court.
Do we have anything going on the trailer on Wales Road that's also being lived in?
You know what? I misspoke. That's on Wales Road, not on Shoddy Mill Road. I wrote that incorrectly.
Thank you.
So we're talking about the same thing. My apologies.
All right.
Did have one customer unhappy that his mailbox got wrecked on Bear Swamp, but it was a plastic one and it appears it got hit by the snow, not by the plow itself. So that's on them. We've had several people unhappy that we don't have a burning official in place yet. I'm in the process of addressing that with the fire department. They have 2 of their members that are willing to go through the training session to become burning officials. We had a complaint, multiple complaints about a rabid fox in the Lake District. And we've had a couple complaints about kids doing donuts in the parking lot at Veterans Memorial Field, or evidence of them doing donuts. So that's basically where we are in terms of complaints. And that's what I have, unless you have questions for me.
Did someone see the kids doing the donuts in Veterans Park?
No, they just called because they looked at the snow and it was clear somebody had done donuts in the park. And they were upset about that.
And we're sure it wasn't an animal?
I don't know.
Wasn't a rabid fox, was it?
Driving a pickup truck? I don't know.
Could have been.
I don't know.
Hey, this is 2020 we're talking about. Anything could have happened.
Sharpshooters could have come out looking for the fox. Okay.
Eric, I just have one question on the building official. Is that going to be just like is he just going to be a contracted service and we're just going to give him a 1099 kind of deal, just paying for hours worked?
So we are just going to do a shared, and I put that in your packet.
Okay.
It's just basically a shared service agreement with the town of Bolton to provide the town of Andover with a building official and an assistant building official.
Okay, understood.
Why were there 2 different? Are you done, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm done.
Why were there 2 different contracts?
2 different numbers on the contracts. Yeah, 2 different contracts.
What I asked them to do is to give us a contract that takes us up through July 1, a short, like 6-month contract, and then a 2-year contract. So we get on a regular cycle that lines up with our fiscal year. So it's predictable as to what the costs are. So that's what that is.
So is that
One is
allowing
current,
that?
one is next fiscal year.
Okay, sorry about that, Eric. Is that allowing the building inspector from Bolton to have more of a full-time schedule now? What was he at Bolton?
24.
24 hours?
So Bolton, so they have both a building official and an assistant building official. And they currently cover 4 towns. Andover will be town number 5. So we're basically, we're shared. Bolton provides it as a service for a bunch of area towns. We would just be one extra town. And so what we did is I sat down with Jim Rupert and we looked at the size of Andover and then also the number of permits pulled and the types of permits pulled in town and did comparables to all the other towns they come up with. And basically what we did is we scaled the services we're getting, to be in line with the number of actual inspections they need to do and how that would work out. And that's how we came up with essentially the hours per week of coverage, which is in the end, it's roughly the same number of hours coverage we got from Ed, except because Ed was a standalone building official, every time he went to do his mandatory training, he billed the town for that too. And we got billed for all his supplies. So hourly, we're paying considerably more, but we don't have to pay for training. We don't have to pay for supplies. We're just straight paying for a shared service. And the other good thing from my perspective is that because he's got an assistant building official, we never have to worry about coverage because if he's out, his assistant covers,
Now, does that contract, are we paying mileage on top of it? Or do we have to cover insurance for the vehicle, any of that?
So the only thing we have to cover mileage if it's an emergency inspection.
Okay.
That's it, not for regular, day-to-day stuff is built into the standard contract.
Okay. And
so like for instance, when we had that fire off of Gilead, if it was an emergency response, we'd be paying for them to come out,
Okay.
off hours, paying for mileage for that.
So just so I understand, how many hours are you anticipating utilization on the Bolton department? How many hours?
About 5.
5.
And are the other towns in this agreement that are already doing it, do they have a home rules type, secretary or something in the town hall as well, or?
That's not a question I've asked. I don't know. I know they're not, although Jim Rupert they have a building admin at Bolton. I don't think that's not part of the agreement. We didn't also contract for the administrative services relative to the building department.
No, I'm asking because now that we're moving towards this, I want to know what the other, you said we're town 5. So I'd like to know what the other 4 town structures are and whether or not we should be considering if we're getting to that point and we're only 5 hours, we have a full, how many hours is Susan working downstairs now?
30.
So we basically have a full-time employee downstairs and a building official that's only needing to 5 hours. Should we be looking at a different structure set? Or do we need 30 hours downstairs?
Okay, so Eric, if you can look into that, just give us back a report on that part of it.
Sure.
I mean, if it doesn't get addressed before budget, I'm certainly going to ask that question in budget. So
I mean, the question is do you want to have somebody available to answer questions or do you not? I mean, because we have this problem with all departments. If you don't have somebody there, what happens when you call? what happens is I get called and I end up spending my time dealing with people who have building questions because there's nobody they can talk to. I mean, I think you should probably have somebody in that office full-time, is my guess, and available to answer questions. But that's a level of service. And, it's less a question of, it's more a question of what level of service do you want to provide to residents, I think, than anything else, Adrian. That's
No,
how
I
I would look
understand,
at
I
it.
understand that, but the building code in general across the state is standardized, right? There are some local ordinance issues, but otherwise it's generally standardized. There is no reason that 5 separate towns need 5 separate employees sitting in an office waiting for a phone call. That's a waste of resources as far as I'm concerned.
So Adrian's point is well taken. So Eric, what are the other 4 towns that Bolton services out?
I know Wellington, I think Ashford. I don't know what the other towns are.
Okay, so if we
Bolton,
can
obviously.
find out what they do with their administrative staff, that would help us,
Yeah.
for the next budget cycle.
Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Eric, is this 30-hour-a-week person doing zoning too?
Nope.
Yep, zoning, wetlands.
Okay,
But she's not doing zoning and wetlands. She's taking in forms.
well, she's doing the administrative part, the secretarial, administrative, whatever you want to call it, answering the phone, whatnot. So she's not just doing building work, because that wouldn't be 30 hours.
It's not the whole, my point is, I don't think the whole department is 30 hours, no matter how much you have thrown in down there.
You may be right. I don't know. But I just wondered if there were more functions.
So
I thought there were.
So that is something, Adrian, that we need to take up during the budget cycle.
I understand that, but it's, if we wait till the budget cycle and then we ask Eric to go get those answers, then we won't have it done in budget cycle. It'll be next year. So
That's fine. So since we're in the middle of this process, any information that
Exactly.
we can gather will all help us.
thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Did Paula fall? Is she okay? Okay, I thought you fought and you couldn't get up.
Well,
I
she
caught
was,
that too, Adrian.
she was hoping that she could get in another standing competition with Jeff
I'm-
Murray. That's what she was
Still
hoping.
standing. Isn't that a song?
Still standing.
All right, let's move on. So, and we'll go to 8, old business. Eric has already provided us with the COVID update. 8B, the alarm monitoring for town buildings. Eric, where are you at with that?
I do not have anything back from Wally. The Board of Fire Commissioners said they would provide it to me by this meeting, and I don't have it, frankly.
8C is adopt the fee schedule for the building department, which was in our packages. Adrian, I'm assuming that you worked through this with Eric?
Eric doesn't consult me on anything. I haven't seen this yet.
It's not what I heard.
Don't even start with me, Adrian.
Yes, I went over this with Eric.
Okay, so are you comfortable with it?
I am. We had some discussion back and forth, and I think everything that we're looking at is fair and comparable, so.
Okay, and just so I understand it, this is the building department, but where do permits such as retaining walls on the lake go? Are they part of the building department? Are they part of wetlands? What is that?
Both?
Yes.
So where-
In other words, both.
Both. So where would that structure be?
So the Inland Wetlands Commission has its own fee schedule, which is not part of this.
Not part of this. Okay, so as we go into our next budget cycle, I've had this conversation with Eric that we need to make sure that these fees and all fees within the town are appropriate so that we can pay for those departments that are there. So it's got to be more of a pay for play situation. So we have to be able to generate enough fees to provide the appropriate level of supervision and inspections that are required.
Eric, we didn't look at retaining wall fees. Should we be looking at that?
Retroactively, you mean?
Is there a permit already out on a specific house that we're thinking of?
Well, I've already paid my permits, I guess, through my contractor. But I've had the conversation with my contractor that, there's a level of oversight the town needs to provide. We need to pay for those things. You need to make sure that the fees that people are charged are appropriate.
Yeah.
So if Adrian's good with that, I'm fine. I mean, I just want to make,
They were woefully inadequate before,
oh, 100% agree.
and they're definitely in line, but they're not outrageous. So
Okay.
they're basically we're trying to cover our cost of the department, and as we're moving forward. So
Correct. Eric's given me, he's told me without a doubt that he'll cover all the costs for the building department with the new updated fee structure.
Okay, so-
We have to hold him to that and make sure that we do. But I mean, these fees have to cover all of the costs of the building department and make sure that we try to calculate that. And we should look at that during the budgeting cycle so that we know that it goes to Adrian's point. If you have somebody that's sitting in a department for 30 hours and you have fees that you can collect, those fees better cover those 30 hours. Because if not, you don't have enough work. So,
right.
Anyway. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Eric or Adrian on the fee structure?
Does the fee structure pay for the department as it stands now? Eric?
The current fee structure does not.
Does not.
We collect somewhere around the low 40s in terms of thousands of dollars per year in building department fees, not including driveway bonds, which we take in and release.
And we would need how much?
I don't have that document staring me right in front. I can find it, but we're talking about realistically, what we're doing here is going to more than double the intake for the building department, which should basically cover 100% of the fees for the building department.
Good. Thank you, Eric and Adrian.
Does anyone want to make a motion to I guess we have sit there and to enact a new fee structure?
Is that required, Eric? I don't know that it is.
Yeah, you're the authority that approves it. Yes.
Okay, then I'll make a motion that we approve the new fee structure as outlined by Eric Anderson.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor? All right. Okay. An update on the town meeting for land acquisition that was held on Saturday, January 9th. 60-2. It went well. Thank you very much to the registrars and all the people that volunteered their time for it, or actually they got paid, but thank you very much for it. And for Eric standing out directing traffic. And I don't know if you noticed it, but in his nice new Andover garb that he so willingly went out and bought for himself. I really was impressed with the green jacket. And I don't know if you noticed it today, but Eric is now wearing his new red polo.
Right.
Are we getting billed for those?
You're not getting billed for those.
Okay, that's fine. Otherwise, I want to pick the colors.
Okay.
White.
Yeah, smart.
Okay, so we're now going on to new business. 9A is a discussion regarding the 30 acres of land for sale on Marriott Valley Road adjoining town-owned property. Scott, would you like to bring this one up?
Well, Jeff is the one, I guess, that put this into the meeting.
Yeah, I just noticed that property was for sale. I've heard conflicting stories, whether somebody said there's a deposit on it. And I spoke to Eric briefly about it, and he was familiar with the town considering the property at one time. Since it's on the other side and would give our 70 acres access to Marriott Valley and possibly Lake Road, I wanted to put it on the agenda just for some discussion, and felt we should discuss it and see what the other selectmen have to say about it.
The sale has not been finalized, but the buyer has already dug test pits on the property.
Okay.
For development.
And, you know, we went after this in the springtime to try to buy it, but
What are they asking?
they only wanted 139 for it, I think. No, was it 100? Yeah, I think it was 139. Anyways, you know, we went through the whole thing with the Planning and Zoning and Conservation Commission, and everybody thought that it was only worth 100, but I thought that it was, you know, how much more ideal of a piece of property could you get than that?
Yeah, I mean, since it opened us up to that prime section on the other side of the wetlands on the hill there, I thought it was an excellent opportunity to look into it. That's why I brought it up on the agenda. Because I think we would have saved that just in the road construction, trying to get through that wet area on our town.
Oh my God, yeah. And that,
It's just kind of in hindsight now, it's 2020, but I don't know if we should keep an eye on it and see what progresses. It's just, I feel like we lost a major opportunity by not chasing that property.
Yeah. One thing I don't understand, Jeff.
Go ahead, Eric.
Chasing it for what? I mean, what would you propose to do
Well,
there?
I mean, we have 70 acres now that's pretty much kind of landlocked with, you know, a stream and wetlands that we would have to cross to get over. I think it would just have expanded our options for future. But, you know, housing up there or have a developer interested in that property would give us two means of egress besides the school. I mean, we could have gone in through Marriott Valley or else put a continuous road in future all the way down to Marriott. So it's just something we could have put on that. I'm just trying to think future that's in our lake. It's kind of in our lake district. It adjoins our 70 acres that we currently have and people are currently using. So, you know, that's why I thought it was important that we put it on the agenda and just discuss.
is that subdividable? Scott, do you know? You said
There was two entrances off of Merritt Valley. Yeah.
No, for that parcel that's for sale.
Yeah, there's two accesses. Yeah.
So they're looking at they could do 2 lots.
I'm not sure. I didn't get into it with the realtor with that. He just said that they're digging test pits. I'm assuming they're probably gonna put a couple houses in there, I would assume.
Well, the reason I'm asking is you said that it went through getting looked at. Wasn't that part of the equation when people came up with a value number?
They came up with $100,000, which no, that wasn't. They just came up with that as far what they thought it was value to the town was be only $100,000.
It's $3,000 an acre.
As far as open space, goes, I guess.
Well, no, but so are you saying that when we evaluate parcels, we don't take into account the realtor value of it? We only appraise the open space value?
Yeah, I would, yeah, that's what the Conservation Commission did. And the Planning and Zoning Commission said, I think the Planning and Zoning said 100 and the Conservation said 105 or so, I think.
So I can clarify.
Please, because I'm baffled at this.
The Planning and Zoning Commission looks at a parcel and looks at the totality of a parcel relative to the town's open space needs and makes a decision whether a parcel is worth it to the town to own, irrespective of what the cost of the parcel is. You know, it doesn't matter what the development costs or the development value of that property. It only matters to the commission what the value is for the town. You know, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, with the concurrence of the Conservation Commission, looked at it and said, we don't want to try to acquire this property if it's going to take us more than about $100,000 out of our open space fund to do it. That's what they've decided. Yeah. Right or wrong, that was their decision.
But was there any consideration to what Jeff brought up tonight, that took a parcel that currently is really unusable and made it usable for the town? I mean, you could, even if you acquired the parcel and then rezone and then, you know, readjusted the lot lines, you could give yourself the access that you need and then sell the rest.
Adrian, don't come after me. This is not a decision by me. This was a decision by two commissions, which I serve on neither of them.
No, I'm not. I'm asking if that, so that's not ever a consideration in those two bodies.
They're only addressing exactly what,
No,
they're only
because
addressing exactly what Eric said, the open
but
space.
remember too, Adrian, that the only thing those two commissions, and really it's the zoning commission, has to work with is the open space fund. And if they bought that with the open space fund, you would not be putting a road in. You would not be subdividing that property because you would then be prohibited by law from doing that. You would be able to put in recreational amenities, but that's it. Because that's what's allowed under the open space, statutes. So it's not like they can say, oh, well, we'll buy it for 100 grand. We'll subdivide off this piece. We'll keep this piece. They don't have that flexibility.
Okay.
If you wanted to do that, you would have had to, the Board of Selectmen would have had to pony up, go back to the town and say, we want to take $100,000 out of something or 150,000 or whatever, and we want to buy it to do this with it.
So there's no structure available within the open space for pulling parcels out and then putting back on the market.
Not when it's bought with those funds.
No,
Okay.
which is why when we acquired the property for,
Lake Road.
we played some legal tricks to acquire the property on Lake Road to do just that. To basically, because there were multiple parcels there, and we got them to donate a couple of the parcels in exchange for us paying too much for one of the parcels, because that gave us the flexibility later, to sell off one of those parcels later.
Okay.
This goes into a charter revision and giving the Board of Selectmen an opportunity to sit there and make a decision like Jeff is bringing up, and finding a pot of money that would allow us to have bought that without having to go back to a town meeting and sat there and explain to everyone why we're choosing to do it and then have people vote no. 12 Center Street is the exact example of
Yeah.
we should have our own pot. And it's not to abuse the situation. It's only to make a prudent business decision on behalf of the town. But
I came to the game late. I wish I would have known about this back in February, March, because I would have definitely pursued it, being on the building committee.
Scott did bring
I think it was a win-win. I think we kind of missed a great opportunity by looking at purchasing that property.
I did, Jeff. I looked at it with the Planning and Zoning and Conservation Commission for 6 months.
Yeah, I just never heard about it. I was never informed. I didn't know anything about it. So, and then I was down there walking and I saw the for sale signs. And I looked up the property and I saw that it bordered all our town property behind the school, and it would have given us a 100-acre parcel back there.
Exactly.
Am I missing something? But are we getting reports or updates from these commissions on major things like this that happen?
we don't get reports from all of the commissions.
I mean, I think this was important enough that we should have been, informed of it.
Well, I'll flat out tell you, Jeff, we were informed of it. I mean, I'm not saying, I know that Scott was working on this, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when it first went on the market. And we had conversations as to open space related. We could have had the conversation as a board to buy the property, but we never had the direct conversation of buying the property other than for open space purposes, because that's
Right.
all it had been brought up about.
Yeah, I don't remember conversations specifically about Merritt Valley.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't either.
it's all right. I mean, listen.
But that was back when Scott.
It would have been almost impossible. Well, I shouldn't say anything. With this board, things are not impossible, but it would have been almost impossible for us to get approval to spend $140,000, or I believe that's what he was asking for, Scott, in the beginning. It was $139,000, something in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Just,
And then the owner reduced it by, I think, 15 or 20 for the town to keep it as open space.
If I remember correctly, Scott went to ask him to donate the property to the town.
Right, exactly. First, I have
Good for you, Scott.
that he refused. So then it was a question of money. And then Scott had gone in and said, okay, if we got it for open space, what would you be willing to deal with? And the board said 100. And if I remember correctly, Scott, he was like, I'm not going to reduce the price.
right, yeah.
Okay. Now, Jeff, I agree with you. Like, I would love to have made a business deal, just like we should have done with 12 Center Street. We should have made
Exactly.
a calculated understanding of what was right for the town long-term, not today, not.
Exactly.
It's
And
a
that's what
long-
I'm thinking long-term. I'm not thinking maybe 10 years and maybe even 20 years down the road. We have a need for housing. We may have a need for more senior housing. And it would have been a perfect opportunity to place it in that area.
Exactly. And then our town administrator will all look at us and go, it's a long-term proposition to get the money to fund what we would like to do.
Even if you needed a space for a well, a septic system, or something for the school, any of those things, it would have been ideal for.
Well, here's the bigger picture that we keep talking about what a town center looks like, right? You know, that if you put that together with the 70 acres that you have and you have a 100-acre parcel, now you've got a town center, you've got town-centered recreation, you've got town center, you know, everything's, you know, coalesced in one area.
And based off the survey, people overwhelmingly wanted that as the town center.
Right, and I brought up the whole plan of well, I worked on that for a lot of time to try to get it pushed through, but I could not get anybody to.
I wish I would have known. I would have been an ally.
Okay. Well, Scott, if the real estate agent tells you it falls through, please bring it back to the board.
Yeah, please keep our eye on that piece of property and just see, and just in case.
Shared service agreement for the building official. We went over that, Eric. Do you have anything else we need to talk about?
Nope.
Okay. We don't need to, we're not approving that tonight. We're going to read that and get back to you. Is it okay if we all text you, email you, call you?
I think technically that one you guys have to approve officially. If you waited another month, you could wait another month, I guess, but.
Okay, well, which contractor were you going to approve then, Eric?
The only one you have to approve is the one that covers us through July 1. Because without that, we technically don't have a building official. But I would say, yeah, that's the only one you technically have to approve. But is there a reason you don't want to approve them both?
If it was me, I'd like to sit there and look at that agreement for longer, especially the 2-year agreement. I don't necessarily have a problem agreeing to it, but.
Eric doesn't want us to see contracts tonight. I'm getting a little leery of this.
You've had this contract. This is not, new territory here.
You're like Trump Jr. tonight.
Ouch.
Good thing Amanda's running the meeting because I would have muted you for that comment. Maybe even put you back in the waiting room.
Almost like banning your Twitter account. What are you going to do?
Okay, let's move on.
So are we going to approve these contracts for the Bolton building official?
Is there something we can do interim to keep the services going until next month so we can all read these contracts? Is there a resolution? Is there something we can do?
Listen, I'll make a motion to approve the contract from today through June 30th of 2021.
Seconded.
Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. Eric, we'll read the next one and vote on it next meeting.
Okay.
All right. We don't need that. We don't need that. We did J, budget planning, recommended capital fund allocations, and employee compensation and annual raises.
So two things. One, I put in your packet the recommended capital fund allocation, which is basically what I presented to you last year with a few more details. The reason why I gave that to you is because I think CIP to plan for what capital purchases they're going to want to do, they really need to understand what the funding level is that will be available for them. So that's why I provided that to you. If that's something that, whatever feedback you have on that would be appreciated in terms of where you as a board want to go with that.
Okay, does the board have any questions of Eric related to the allocation for the 2021, 2022 budget? Eric, do you know how much the total allocation is increasing from 2020 to 2021?
So yes, if you look on that first column, that first column that says amount 2020, that's what we actually put in the funds last year as amended by the Board of Finance, who went back and added money to it from the surplus from last year. So as you remember, when we modified the budget to present to the Board of Finance, we had trimmed pretty dramatically the capital request from last year, from the first budget to the one that got presented to Board of Finance, to the numbers in that column.
So my quick math is like $80,000 increase.
I think it's more than that.
Up 30, up 90, or up 80, excuse me. 130, down to 90, up to 130. The roadwork fund was 350. It's going to be 300,000.
So it was 300, the last budget was 300,000. However, because we ran a pretty significant surplus last year, at the end of the year, we did additional budget transfers of $50,000 into that account. So that was 300,000 last year. We added, it's 300,000 this year. Because we had a surplus, we dumped some of the extra surplus in that.
Okay. But we really need to look at it as to how much more we're going to try to request in a budget in total. So if you could get us that number so that I could know like how much more money that capital request is for. I'm willing to sit there and support all of them. I don't think there's a problem with any of them. I probably think your bridge and culvert fund is low, but that's me.
It is low, but I mean, the question is how much can we really add? You know, the difference is last year we had quite a bit of unexpended fund balance and repurposed funds we transferred into the general fund to fund some of this. So this year, pretty much all of it would come from taxation. Therefore, there's going to be a big, you know, effectively, even if the budget doesn't increase, the effect on the taxpayer is a fairly significant increase.
What are you looking for? Three and change?
Well, I think the increase is really about 130,000 if you take the road work out. So,
And how much did we have that we didn't? I guess what I'm asking is, what is the actual increase in taxation effect total on the new?
I think that's the number, 130.
No,
But listen, we do not have to discuss this in totality right now. We can do this in our budget workshops because this is going to be something we all have to look at.
One thing I'd like to bring up is that, you know, the new softball field down there, Jeff, You know, I don't know if you wanted to talk about this at some point.
Well, it's something that we should sit there and think about what we would want to do with it, but I think we have a lot of problems that we have to address. So,
I can I just kind of get a lay of the land? My thought process, like my bigger thought process on dealing with some of our shortfalls, because addressing some of our shortfalls sooner rather than later saves us money in the long run, right? And given the interest rates being as low as they are right now, has there been any thought process, or what would would the board be open to looking at bonding, putting together a bond package for some of the road work, some of the bigger capital, or are we still wanting to get another year out from COVID before we start talking about that? We've got one more year before the RAM bond pays out. That's going to affect the school a little bit, but all indications say that the RAM board is going to try to take that money and put it into something else, that we really won't see it.
listen, I think as a board, we should really look at that, and we should look at what the cost would be, because in my mind, if we could sit there and give the residents a number, that this is the number, we're going to keep coming back to this number for the next 10 to 15 years, I have no problem doing that. I have no problem showing it to the residents too, to say, listen, we'd like to do this, or I'll support that, agent. So,
Any thoughts from anyone else? Eric, Scott, Paula, Jeff?
When's our RAM increase gonna start dropping?
This year into next year.
Yeah,
But
so we got what, 2 more years of that increase?
Yeah, but so what's going to end up happening though is there's also the bond is finally going to be paid off. The bond shouldn't be paid off. The first tier bond payments drop by 1.5 million. When that happens,
I'm talking about our levy. I'm talking about the levy that we have now.
but the levy is related to both
Yep.
students and
Yep.
bond payout. It should come down based on that alone. So
I'd like to funnel the money that we're spending to RAM. I'd like to funnel that into road work if we could in the coming years.
yeah.
well, the question
So the residents don't see a big bump in taxes.
But if we could bond it out, and let's say it's 1 mil over 10 years, or 1.5 mil over 10 years, but it gives us the money now to move that forward, a bunch of these projects, and, you could look at the difference in the community center building. You could look at the road work projects and the next fire truck and say, we're going to bond for these 3 things all at once.
Yeah, I guess we have to figure out how much road work we can possibly get done in a year. I mean, I don't know.
But you don't have to spend bond money in 1 year.
Oh, but the thing is, I want to make sure that we have a plan for spending that money.
Yeah, but I guess my point is we
Eric,
have
can you
spending
come
it.
up with that plan, Eric?
And I don't want to be paying interest on money that we're not doing work with. That's the problem. I don't want to bond
Well-
for all this money and pay interest on money we're just holding on to. It doesn't
No,
make.
I understand that, but like the fire truck, you can't go get it. It's going to be a year before you actually pay the bill, but you can't go get it till you've got the money. The road work, you can't contract out until you have deposit money, and then you're 6 months, a year out on bigger projects, so all of it has to be tied into a longer term plan, and it could be 2 or even 3 years before you spend down the whole bond fund. But because of the size of our needs, we don't have enough money. If we do any of these projects individually, is not enough to justify a bond. You'd have to do it through tax implications. If you put them all together, now you have enough money to go to the bond and coalesce them all together and make something work. but individually, they don't justify a bond is the problem.
Okay, so globally, we would all agree, or we should all agree that we could look at this. We really need to what the interest rate is on the bond and what type of bond we go out and get.
Right.
And let's evaluate it. There's nothing wrong with evaluating that information and trying to determine if it makes sense.
Well, unfortunately, this was something I had been really pushing Barbara on for over a year and got nowhere. I tried to get her to reach out to banks. I tried her to bring banks in. I asked her to reach out to Hebron because they had just gone through something similar, and I got nowhere. So
Dennis O'Brien, where is Wyndham getting their bond funding from?
I'm not exactly sure, but we're doing a lot of bonding. Jim
All right.
Rivers, you should
Can
talk
you
to Jim
find-
Rivers in Wyndham.
who?
We've been doing an awful lot of, Jim Rivers, the town
Okay.
manager in Wyndham. Eric could talk to him. Adrian, you could talk to him. He's
Okay.
very, very easy to access. He loves to talk this stuff. He has a background in finance. One of the reasons we hired him. And ever since he's come to town, as you know, Adrian, we're doing a lot of construction projects in town.
Yeah.
We've been bonding a lot because the interest rates are incredibly low.
And that's the thing. Now is, if you're going to do anything, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. I'd love to see that new softball field in Andover so I can bring my girls team down there to beat you guys again.
That's why I want to
You
get it
make us
done for
play
you,
in-
Dennis.
We play in Hebron most of the time.
Well,
Right.
Dennis, over in Andover, we're not like Wyndham. We're progressive. We have a mixed team. So
What did you just say?
Progressive?
Did you
compared
just
to Wyndham?
call our lovely little town of Andover progressive?
We have
I'm just saying,
we have a co-ed team,
we're
You have a
co-ed.
What is that, co-ed for people your age?
right?
We don't call it co-ed because that's not the right term.
No, my team is just little girls and they're 10, 11 and 12-year-olds. I'll be moving up to Major League next year with my
All right.
granddaughter.
Well, Adrian, we should look at it. Let's take a look at it. Let's sit there and see if we can find out some information that, it's definitely outside of the comfort zone for all of the residents in the town of Andover, but
You want me to hook you up with Jim Rivers, Adrian?
Please.
Okay, that would be a good, you guys would work well together.
Adrian, I think it's a great idea.
okay.
I love it myself from, being from out in left field here.
Yeah.
Okay, where were we? Whoops, I'm
Softball
sorry.
reference.
Shh. What section, where are we on there?
Motion to adjourn.
9D. Still.
9B, budget planning, we did that.
Can I get a
9B,
second?
2I, employee compensation annual raises, Eric. Should we address that during our budget cycles or what?
So I just want to remind the board that one of the things that you have a statutory obligation to do is to set the compensation for employees that don't have existing contractual agreements. So not union people and not the people that are elected officials. So the remainder of that group, you set the salary and benefits for. So my first question is, do you guys have a target that you're trying to achieve?
0.
That's progressive.
Hey, they got to work from home this year. They saved on gas money.
Right.
Eric, we'll sit there and do that in our budget workshops, but one question is contracts that need to be written for July 1st. I'm assuming your contract is in that category. Accurate?
Technically, my contract is up August something.
Okay,
Yeah, not
we should-
July,
we
but
should
you could.
rewrite that. Are there any other contracts that this board needs to sit there and be thinking about before July 1st?
So at this point, no, the only contract you could consider would be an actual formal contract for Amy Orlomovsky in the at the library.
Okay. Okay, so
Well, back up. Eric's is up in August. For budgeting, do we need to have a conversation about that?
yeah, It might be up in August, but we should write it for a July 1 timeline.
All right. So we're going for 0 on that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Knowing you, sure.
He's terrible.
I'm just up front,
Getting it out there.
right? Just trying to get your expectations where they need to be.
Eric is deserving of everything that this board can bring to him.
We'll pay for the shirts next year. How's that?
And a coat if you want.
And a coat. Put it in with Public Works.
I'm gonna give him the color of the rainbow for his
Actually, no, all kidding aside, Eric, given how much you are out and exposed and with even just going around with the road crew and stuff, you should look at getting one of those reflective coats when Public Works puts one in for yourself.
Well, I mean, I carry a reflective vest with me at all times, certainly.
Yeah, that's not the point. If you're gonna get hit, we'd at least like you to have a logo on you when you get struck.
Right, so they know where to take the body?
Well, or who to pay out your employee unused sick time to.
Oh.
No, but seriously, you should have one. You should have one.
PTO employee.
No, you should have one. I'm being totally serious. You should have one of those coats.
I actually agree with Adrian on this one.
So we can take you to the pit, Eric.
No, I mean, that's
what he's saying. When you get hit, we take you to the pit.
It's not just a
Oh,
visibility.
yeah, it's just a safety issue. It should be the same with the inspectors and everything else that are out.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree with you guys.
So back up. We are going ahead with the town crew. So 2 things. One, I bought Jay a series of these shirts, but in international safety green. So you'll be able to see him a mile away. It'll look professional. It'll be a logoed shirt, but it will be bright green. We are buying the Public Works crew logoed bomber jackets with the retro reflective stuff all over them, because that's something I wanted Eddie to get last year, but Eddie being Eddie thought it was a bad idea for some reason. Not sure exactly why. Jay and I discussed that early on, and that was one of my goals, is to get high reflective, outfits so that they don't get run over, because it's really expensive when your employees get run down.
So here's another question I'm gonna throw out there because I don't know. I think you should have one, both so that you look professional and you are safe. Whether it's out helping, doing traffic with the voting or whatever, I think it's appropriate. But given that generally the more you order, the better the pricing is, does CERT or anybody else have those jackets? And if not, should we consider doing that for CERT?
I don't know what CERT has. I mean, CERT has a bunch of stuff, but what exactly, I don't know. They get a bunch of
CERT
stuff.
has reflective vests. They have reflective vests. I've seen them. They wear them. They have reflective vests.
Okay.
I know they have some of the full-on reflective cold weather gear, but I don't know necessarily whether all of them do or not.
Anybody doing inspections or working on behalf of the town should have some kind of safety gear and logo shirts or jackets.
Yeah, and listen, given that CERT's volunteers, I mean, gosh, it's probably the least we can do for them. So, Can we talk to somebody over at CERT?
Yep.
I just feel like volunteers in this town have been underappreciated for way too long. I don't want to throw them a party, I want to do something for them. So
Okay, so Eric, please look into that and provide back a quote so that we can sit there and get it done. Just do it. I don't want to have another conversation and another meeting about reflective jackets. So please get the reflective jackets for yourself and see if CERT has any money in their budget, and then let's sit there and do that for them as well, because
well, and if they don't, let's find the money in the town budget.
let's go. Okay. There is now our timeline on our Board of Selectmen budget adoption and the schedule for workshops. Anybody have any timeline they'd like to put out, like when we should start meeting?
I mean, you really ought to plan on a couple budget meetings between now and February 1st and running a budget to Board of Finance somewhere around early February.
Okay. It's January 11th. So do we want to start meeting? Is there, I would assume we'd still do it by Zoom. We would have meetings. Anybody have a problem with Wednesdays, or how often do you want to do this? Weekly?
Wednesdays are generally not great for me.
Okay. Thursdays? Anybody have any recommendations?
Are Tuesdays an option?
Tuesday is always an option. Good. How about we email out a schedule and we sit there and try to get everybody to buy into it, and Eric will post that up on the town calendar after we get enough buy-in from the rest of the members.
Can we do it as a Survey Monkey schedule or something?
If it was me, I would do it on Tuesdays, and we would do it each Tuesday until we feel comfortable that we've gone through everything.
What about the 19th and the 26th?
Well, you need more than 2 days.
Well, we were really good. Eric was like telling us to start in February. Are you prepared for us to start meeting now, Eric?
Not
You wanted it
tomorrow,
done
but
before
if
February.
anytime after Thursday. I mean, we have enough to start a discussion on the 12th. Tomorrow, if you're ready to go for that, sure, why not? What the hell?
All right, so I like Scott's idea, the 19th and the 26th.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. 7 o'clock. Eric, if you could put those on the calendar.
Okay.
Okay, item 10 is the approval of the meetings, or the meeting minutes for the December 14th regular meeting. Does anyone have any questions or concerns regarding the minutes? Someone want to make a motion to approve those?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
A second.
All right. Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We were all provided information from the finance department. Eric in his email provided us a cleaner copy. Are there any questions related to the information besides which month this was for?
Did I put the wrong month on it?
No, it's covered up by the PDF complete information. Eric, is there anything that we should look at specifically that you want to direct us to?
So there's two things on this one that you will see if you look at your budget workshop. The first is we incorrectly assigned a bunch of cost from the salary line item for public works, which should have been in the permanent fund for employee payoffs, essentially. So we've corrected that. I went over that and corrected that with Marina. Basically, we had to do a journal entry because Barbara incorrectly booked it. I freaked out a little bit when I saw that original budget, because we jumped from about 40% expended in public works to like 65% in one 2-week increment, which obviously was a little unrealistic. So we've corrected it. We're in reasonably good shape on public works. As I've talked to you about before, I allowed them to go over on the temp help because we were using Richard Bagan, and because we hadn't, we didn't want to permanently hire until we had an actual completion date for Eddie. So we basically used him as a temp help as opposed to taking his salary out of the general line item for Public Works. We did run over pretty considerably in overtime this fall. Two reasons for that. One, we've had a ton of storm related stuff. It's like every time the wind blows, you know, we end up with Public Works out in the middle of the night cleaning up roads because we've had a ton of closures. So that's been part of it. And the second part of it is, as we've done road work, a lot of the road work contractors, they don't work nice, neat 8-hour days. They tend to work long days. And we end up at the end of the day running 2 or 3 hours of overtime for the road guards, because we typically use our Public Works employees to supply, so we don't have to pay independent flaggers. So, you know, but overall, we're fine right now on salary for Public Works. It's just that we've gone over in those two, but we were well under in the standard line item for salary. Now, as we get into the spring, because Jay makes considerably more than Eddie did, we're going to be a little over at the end of the year, but not much over. So that's the only one I really wanted to bring to your attention on the major part of the budget.
Are we still isolating? I didn't think, but we're not separating snow, are we still?
Yes.
Okay, so our overtime may be offset, because generally this time of year, where we are in January, we would generally be a little more expended on snow bunny.
Yeah, so far we're doing okay on snow removal. We had that one really long storm, but other than that, we've been doing, it hasn't been too big a deal. The other thing is, if you look down in the budget, there's a series of appropriation transfers that have come up. Most of them you don't have to weigh in on. The ones you should probably approve, and ultimately it's Board of Finance that has to have the final approval because they're over $5,000. And that is the temp line item for temporary labor for Public Works, and then the overtime for Public Works. Those, and I put those two over expenditures in your packet.
Do you need a BOF referral?
No, technically what has to happen is the Board of Selectmen has to, approve, and then it goes to Board of Finance.
So you need a BOF referral. You need us to approve it so it can go to Board of Finance.
Correct.
Would you like us to do that now?
That would be good.
I make a motion that we refer how many do you have? 3?
3.
I think there's only 2. The only 2 that you need to deal with as a board are the budget account number 0301-111 and 0301-112. Those are the only 2.
I would make a motion then to refer those 2 account numbers as noted by Eric to the Board of Finance, approving and then moving to the Board of Finance for final approval.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay, anything else there, Eric?
No, that's, unless you have more questions for me about where we are. We're actually in really good shape overall on the budget.
Did we have any COVID money coming in?
Yes.
We do. We've got one allotment of around $7,000 that we've gotten in. We have one coming in that should be around 21 and change. 22.
And is that primarily for work hours, or?
So this is where it gets a little stupid. So what happened was,
how about the short version?
So what we're going to do is we've booked it against the resident trooper's salary, and then we've reassigned the excess from the resident trooper's salary into whatever we want to spend it on. That's the short version.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions related to that? And Eric, just so everyone understands, you got a small amount and you're getting a larger amount, and that was 21,000, or is that what the 55,000 was?
No, the 55,000 is what we're getting back from LoSiP. So we agreed to do the paving, the repaving at the transfer station using LoSiP funds. We paid for it out of the roadwork budget initially, and we're getting refunded from LoSiP, but we don't have that yet.
Okay, so that was the other number. All right,
Wait, one more question, finance. The situation that we ran into this spring with the wrong transfer, has that been addressed with Kerma and the our auditor?
That has not been finally addressed yet.
So that's
That is still in the works.
Okay, thank you.
okay. Since we already went through 12 in the budget and the appropriation transfers, we're good with that. The tax collector's report. There wasn't any tax collector's report. Were there refund requests?
There were no refund requests.
Okay. I like that. The assessor's report, you've provided an update. I mean, how, on the revaluation services, how far complete, or what's our percentage of completion?
I asked that. I didn't get a firm number, but I think they're more than 2/3 of the way done at this point.
And with the exception of board member Mandeville, has everyone else here had anyone stop by their house or drop off a flyer or do anything else? Paula?
Twice. 2 times.
2 times for you. Paula, for you?
Adrian,
Paula, the question is for you.
Question is for you.
why, do you know something I don't know, Adrian?
I may have sent him down to your house because I know that we need to get more taxes out of you.
I had a very pleasant experience, no issues.
Okay, and Jeff, you?
You haven't seen the reval yet.
I had no issues whatsoever. They drove up to the house. They had identified themselves. They had vests on. They had identification. I told them to freely walk the property. I had nothing to hide. So.
Paula was trying to hide her pool. She's walking around with a bush trying to hide it.
Oh, we had some wrong info, so I'm glad they stopped by, and he was very,
Added that big pool.
wow. No wonder why our meeting was so short last month. You just got to add every little comment.
We all know why the meeting was short last month, don't we?
Because nothing got done.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so
You're
busy getting your sleigh ready.
Department reports. The only report that I had questions on really was the resident state trooper report. Eric, can you find out and next meeting, just report back when non-reportable matters are put onto this report, 121, can you get a breakdown of kind of what they represent? I'm assuming they're interactions that the state trooper has with residents, but please find out.
I mean, I can tell you generally that's for anything that the state police get called to an event, but nothing happens. They don't arrest anybody or actually do anything.
So it's not just our trooper, it's the barracks total.
Yes, correct.
So we may
That's
not be able to get a breakdown, Jeff.
That's the barracks total, or
No,
people
barracks
from
total.
Andover- people from Andover called 153 times?
Yes.
For different-
Yes.
Does it include contacting him on Facebook and calling the phone number too? Like I've contacted him on Facebook. Does that count as a non-reportable matter? So like this, you know.
Yeah, just find out. I mean, I'm just interested in it because, you know, there's 3 accidents and 2 other criminal issues and 3 non-criminal issues and 153 non-reportable matters.
Well, Jeff texted him 53 times, so there's only 100 reportable matters.
It's fine. At least Jeff wastes his own time, right, Paula?
Ouch.
All right.
All right, I'm staying out of it.
Any other questions? Any other questions related to anything else here? Building department had a total net income of
I just have one question. I don't know if this falls under department reports, but I just wanted to ask Eric during this meeting. The issue with the line painting and the cars get settled, has that kind of gone away?
They haven't got back to me. I told them I was willing to give them a couple $100, but
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that that issue has been resolved and we don't have any ongoing problems.
I mean, I suspect they have an ongoing problem with the town, but they haven't asked me. I agreed to pay out a couple $100 to settle it, but I haven't heard back from either.
Okay, just wondering. Did we lose Jeff?
All right, motion to adjourn.
We have to do public speak.
Nice try, Adrian.
So we really should, hopefully you've all had a chance to look through the AHM agreement.
Sorry about that. Okay, back at it. Are there any other questions? And Eric, there is one thing on the, there does appear to be some refunds for the tax collector. They're posted on page 78 of our package. Just make sure that we don't need to do something with that this month.
Oh, I missed them. Well,
I thought there was 3 or 4 of them.
if there is, I missed it.
Where are
well,
you seeing them?
Say that again.
I'm sorry, where are you seeing them?
It looks like a page 70. You know that they may not be tax collector issue. They may be assessor's issues. So maybe that's my mistake.
Oh, okay.
But I would assume the assessor passes it on to the tax collector and then tax collector processes the refund. So it might just be that the assessor sent it to the tax collector's office and the tax collector's office didn't process the refunds for this month. So we should make sure what we need to do. Are there any other issues that someone wants to address related to the other reports?
So the one we do need to deal with is AHM, if you've all had a chance to read that agreement.
Well, I mean, I read that, but you know, is there anything that, so they want to know, they want us to sign this agreement between the town and RAM. And when is their expectation of getting it back?
I mean, they would like it sooner rather than later.
All right, so can we read it and vote on this at the beginning of next meeting? I'm assuming no one else on our board read it in any detail. Okay, so we're gonna bring this back up next meeting. And we will get it done for the next meeting, Eric.
Okay, I mean, I will tell you that that will be, yeah, they'll deal with it.
Well, Eric, I mean, I skimmed it here while we were reading it. Is there any issues with it that you see?
No, I honestly think that, so the group has gone back and forth about how you fairly evaluate the 3 towns relative to the amount of services that are provided. So if you remember historically, if you go back 5 years, it just went off of census population data. And then somebody decided that wasn't fair, and they decided it should be relative to the number of students combined in RAM, basically between the high school and the elementary school. So they changed that to that formula. And then, you know, Marlboro decided, well, a town decided it was unfair to use that valuation, in part because it fluctuated a lot from year to year. So people's bills would go up and down and up and down from year to year. So there was another formula floated that was basically total student enrollment, as one factor. And then the second factor is total census population. And then the third factor was just the number of students in the high school, in the elementary school, or high school in the middle school, which I thought was kind of stupid because it double counted the students from the high school and middle school. So we eventually have settled on a formula which is basically equal weighting between the census population of the three towns respectively, and the number of students K through 12 that are actually enrolled somewhere.
And how does that affect our number?
It doesn't make a damn bit of difference, which is why this has been frustrating to me, because all three formulas basically return exactly the same valuations for all three towns. So we're arguing over really stupid things because it doesn't change anything.
So is there any reason that we shouldn't accept the agreement as is?
No.
Motion to accept agreement for AHM as noted. Anyway,
I'll second it. Dennis O'Brien has something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, nobody asked me to read it, but I did read it, and I thought it was pretty good. And the only questions I had were Eric covered. It was about how much it's going to cost, and I even looked at the CERC reports on all three towns. And obviously you're going to be paying less based on those reports, based on K through 12. You're smaller than Marlboro and quite a bit smaller than Hebron. I was just wondering how much you've been paying in the past for this service.
So I want to say it's around 49,000, something in that range. But I think we pay, but that's just what I see, because the elementary school has charged separately. Now, what I will say is there is up for discussion that they've been deciding what's the fairest way to bill the towns, and whether they bill the towns essentially one bill, or whether they continue to bill the primary school and the town separately. Because, that hasn't really been decided yet, but that doesn't matter because that doesn't change the actual amount the taxpayers pay. It just means whether it's baked into the elementary school bill or it's baked into the town's bill.
You happy with the services you're getting?
Yeah,
Is this fairly extensive? I mean, I have a lot of experience with social services, human services, youth services bureaus in my days as a legal aid lawyer. I'm just wondering what kind of services you're getting. Are they good? Are they expensive?
Does AHM, with all of the census information they do by population, does AHM provide information as to how much services are used by town?
Good question.
I think I have not seen the breakdown from this year. Last year, they provided a list of the services specifically to each town.
Do they serve as like a youth services bureau for your town?
That's exactly what they are. They are Andover's Youth Services
YSB.
Bureau.
Well,
What?
that's an important service. It is in Wyndham for sure. I mean, so I assume it is just about everywhere, but we have different kinds of needs.
All right. So, Eric, before we vote on this, in the future, under department reports, maybe we can ask AHM if they do have a breakdown of how much the services have been utilized by Andover's residents. That would be tremendous.
And I would like to know, if I were you, how much the other towns are paying, in total, and also, to the elementary school and whatnot.
So Dennis, Andover's fraction of the total budget is 16%.
Okay, well, that's about what it should be.
But that's just the part because remember, they get a lot of outside funding. The towns provide roughly a third of their total funding, of which Andover pays 16% of 1/3 of the total funding.
Well,
that
if they're
makes
doing
sense.
a good job and they're meeting the needs of your people, that's a pretty good price.
Okay,
Price that you stated before, based on my awareness of social services, which is, I have a lot of experience in that regard.
okay. Anyone else have any other questions, board members? No? All right, call the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Eric, you can get that passed on to AHM.
Happy, Eric?
I am.
You're welcome.
Assuming there's no correspondence,
Not that I'm aware of.
public speak.
Yeah, I'll bring something up if I could.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Mark.
Just wanted to comment on the discussion we had a little bit earlier about bonding. I think that given the situation and the timing and the needs of the town, that it would be prudent for the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, finance department, and the Board of Finance representatives to kind of maybe get together and come up with a plan. And I hate to add committees or meetings or anything else to these kind of things, but honestly, if we don't have that kind of thing addressed and have some understanding gained by, I think certainly on the Board of Finance, but also probably in the Board of Selectmen and other avenues, it would just be prudent for us to find out more about that early so that we know what our options are and everyone understands what the trade-offs are, et cetera. So just a comment about how we might approach that. Sooner rather than later would be prudent.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Mark, I've been asking about this for a while. I will try to get what information I can from Wyndham. I will encourage our new finance person coming in to get as much information as they can. And obviously Eric's going to reach out. I don't know that we can pull something together for this budget. I would love to see us pull something together for this budget, but if we do, certainly that's going to include bringing in a bank or somebody to explain to both the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, which I would hope would probably be a joint meeting, to explain the implications of this and what the long-term, and obviously I'd like to record that Zoom so we can put it out there for residents as well. So,
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't foresee this happening in this budget cycle. It's just way too short a time period, unfortunately, but
you never know.
No.
You never know. I mean, if we can get the town to approve, I mean, basically you come up with a number, you come up with a rate, you come up with a bonding package, and you know what it's going to specifically. And if now's the time to do it, which I personally believe it is, we kind of have an idea of what we need. It's just a matter of what it's going to cost us. So,
right.
How much can we put into that and come up with a number that we can live with, and whether that's prudent or not is the next conversation. But
got it. Agreed. Okay. Yep.
Shannon, do you have anything to add?
Yes, that's why I'm wearing my hat.
Let's go.
So before I break into song, which I hope will be a unique event in Board of Selectmen history, two things, seriously. I sent the agreement and the draft contract for the contract for Agata to all of you. Dennis, I didn't have your email handy, so I'm asking somebody on the Board of Selectmen to send it to you. We especially need to hear back from you ASAP because the contract has already gone out to Agata. She simply hasn't signed it yet. So need to hear back from you guys. Second of all, I meant to say it earlier when I was being more serious. I very, very much would like to see the town of Andover no longer have May municipal elections. I would very much like us to see go to alternating Novembers and save the town a lot of money, get voter turnout up like we saw this past November, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how that needs to occur. So I'm putting it before the Board of Selectmen. I believe it needs to occur by referendum.
Charter revision.
And hold on, Adrian, do not interrupt me.
Charter revision.
and a town charter change, but I'm putting it out there because it needs to happen. It's needed to happen for years, and I want it to be done. And finally, I hope you will all join in reminiscent of December 19th, because there is a very important event occurring this Thursday,
Feel free to mute her,
January
Amanda.
14th, for one
You
of
can
your
mute her
fellow
now.
members.
Mute
So
her.
everybody join in.
Mute her.
Happy birthday to you. I can't hear you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday, dear Paula. Happy
Yep,
birthday.
moving on.
Oh,
Moving
oh,
on.
that was not me.
Moving on.
That is so cruel. Words fail me right now. So I'm
Eric-
going to mute
Eric's a
myself.
co-host.
The singing was cruel. The singing was cruel.
My singing is fantastic, Adrian. You would have to pay typically for my singing. Okay.
The singing didn't bother me, the hat did. So anyway, are we all,
Nice job, Shannon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula, happy birthday.
Thank you, Shannon. That was very kind of you.
Paula, I'm sorry that your birthday was outed like that. I apologize on behalf of the board. It's not fair. Women of your age shouldn't be discussed.
So Paula, just for posterity, when is your birthday exactly?
You don't have to tell anybody, Paula. Keep it to
Her
yourself.
birthday is Thursday,
These
January
personal
14th.
intrusions are not
You will
appropriate.
be 44 young years old. My goodness gracious.
That
Yes.
is not nice. That is not nice.
Hey, I'm 50, gonna be 58. It is darn nice.
That's quite all right. I accept any gifts. My address is on record, so if you would like to send checks, feel free. Drop off gifts. Okay. Thank you, Shannon. It was very lovely of you.
Ugh.
Okay, now you're in the calendar forever, Paula. Thank you. Thank you, Shannon, for letting me know. Is there anything else that we need to do? Is there anyone else that wants to participate in public speak? Amanda, you good?
Anybody else's birthdays we need to sing for?
I know that your birthday is.
We're gonna forget one that's gonna occur before the next Board of Selectmen meeting because
That would
somebody
be-
doesn't
that would
like to
make
have
me-
it announced.
That's
That would
true.
make me very
Well,
happy.
Adrian's birthday being February.
No,
1st,
no,
should be
come on.
Celebrated in the
Don't do that.
February month. So,
No.
Yeah.
I don't have a birthday.
no, but
I'm
we
in
will
Paula's
sing.
camp.
This month is Paula's month. We're not gonna stomp on your parade, Paula. Thank you very much
Oh,
for letting us celebrate with you. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Because this meeting ran a little bit longer than our last meeting. I blame that all on.
Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
again,
After we're done with this meeting officially, we need to have a quick board discussion. Technically not a meeting per Dennis O'Brien to talk about collective bargaining.
And we're gonna do this today.
Yeah, at least having a preliminary discussion.
All right.
Sure.
Okay. Then we're gonna go to adjournment. Someone want to make a motion?
See y'all on Wednesday at my important Board of Ed meeting. Happy birthday, Paula.
Are we singing to anybody there, Shannon?
Yes, we will be saying goodbye to Laura Edwards and giving her a gift and a cake and a lot of other swag. So if you would like to be there in person, I might actually give you a piece of cake, Adrian. Oh, and it's Lisa Hewitt's birthday last Friday, so she will be celebrated also.
I'm afraid you'll make me wear it.
Okay.
That could be a possibility.
Did someone make the motion to adjourn?
Yes, seconded.
Seconded. All those in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you very much. Amanda, can you terminate the people that need to be off of this conversation? By
See you
Mark.
guys.